Welcome back to our Wealthy Mindset, where we talk about all things money, mindset, and business. It's your host, Cindy, your fractional CFO and financial bestie. And today's episode is being released a little later than usual. I forgot to record the intro and realized on Tuesday, but I was just dealing with a bad migraine, was finally feeling better today. So that's why this episode's being released now. So today's episode is with guest Samantha Siffring. She built $1 million business and then chose to walk away. So in this episode, business coach and author Samantha Siffring gets brutally honest about what success really costs and why scaling isn't always a dream. We talk shame, identity, and the courage it takes to pivot when everything looks successful on paper, but feels anything but. If you've been questioning your business model, craving more simplicity, then this episode is for you. Hi, Samantha. Thank you for joining me on her Wealthy Mindset today and being open to sharing your money story.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Could you share a little bit about yourself and what type of work you do?
Yeah, so I am a business coach and I work with people who have service-based online businesses. And I've been doing this since 2017, but I started as a coach in 2015.
Oh, wow. Long
And
time.
yeah. So it's kind of like this summer is really my 10-year anniversary as a coach. So it's been fun to, I don't know, kind of like reflect lately.
I know when we had connected, you mentioned that you unscaled like $1 million business, which is the opposite of what most people want these days. So, like, what made you walk away from that? And, like, what was like the point where you're like, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah. So it was kind of an evolution. It was not like one dramatic day of like, I'm done. It was definitely like a gradual process. But it started off with me having kind of a bad experience in a mastermind, like as a participant, and then kind of being like, oh, what is going on in this industry? And like starting to kind of like question the norms that we're presented with in the online business space. And then I started changing a bunch of things about my offers and kind of I feel like crisis feels like a dramatic word, but,
Yeah.
but having like a soul searching moment of just like how do I feel about the coaching industry and where do I fit in with this? Um and and actually there was a time where I even considered like do I want to have this business at all or do I want to do something else? So my sister and I started a marketing agency at that time. Like, let's have a backup plan essentially for me if I end up at the end of this deciding I don't want to coach at all.
Yeah.
So there was like several years of that. And and then I also have this period in the coaching business of like, I'm lowering all my prices and I'm adding tons more value. And that really threw off the profitability in the business. So then it was
Right.
like, okay, now it's becoming very stressful. Not only am I questioning it, but now I've made business decisions that are not like financially good for the business. So yeah, that was kind of like a long process of it. And then a little over a year ago, I decided I am going to stop doing all like masterminds, memberships, group programs, all of that, and only offer one-on-one coaching. Like I had this, I don't know, like I sat with the question of like, what do I believe about coaching and the value of coaching for long enough to be like, okay, I am like really sold personally on the value of one-on-one coaching. I see the impact on my clients. I see the impact on me as a client of a one-on-one coach as well.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that I feel really solid in. And that's the thing I want to base my business in. So it's been now a little over a year of that being the only thing that I offer. So yeah, as I said, it's been quite the evolution.
Wow. That's amazing. Because it's like the coaching world is like the total opposite. It's like high volume, get people in, and then get new people in all the time.
Yes, which I found very stressful. Like it is a constant struggle of like troubleshooting, like, is the funnel working? Are
Yeah.
we hitting the numbers? And you're just constantly thinking about, how do I get new people in? How do I keep the people that are here? And of course, like, the marketing industry and the messaging that works for people is always changing, so you're always having to adapt.
Right.
And it's a lot. And I know, one of the things that happened to me is I was having chronic hives and I didn't know why, and I was like changing all of my beauty products and laundry detergents and hair products. Like, I was eliminating everything, trying to be like, what's happening? I was
Yeah.
starting to like cut items out of my diet, like maybe it's a food thing. And then when I made the changes in my business, they went away and I
Just all
stopped
that stress in your
getting hives
body.
every day. Yeah. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is clearly a high stress situation.
Yeah, it's like your body subconsciously is storing all of that. And you don't really
Mm-hmm.
realize that. You think it's like more of a health issue or something you're using.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
What made you feel like the business you were running was misaligned? Was it like a specific type of coaching you did before and then you changed up the type of coaching you were doing? Or is it more just you're trying to do all these things like masterminds, doing group coaching, and just it wasn't for you?
I think part of it is that it wasn't for me. I really enjoy one on one conversations and working with clients that way. So I felt like I was always trying to capture that in the programs that I was offering. And I grew my business really fast.
Yeah.
So, like, there was a time where I had so many people who wanted to work with me that I felt like I had to offer groups. Like, I
Hmm.
had to figure out, how do I serve all the people that want to work with me? So it wasn't, I didn't feel like I was trying to like force myself into something that didn't feel good, but it did kind of feel like I was always trying to figure out, how do I capture what really works about one on one in a group format so I can help lots of people with that.
Yeah.
And it felt like that was the challenge. And I think I did it well. Like, people got results and like it was good. It felt good for a while. But I think it was ultimately that stress of like, oh, I'm realizing I'm always having to problem solve and always having to bring in more people. Then my time is so much more focused on marketing than time with clients. And I didn't like that.
Did you have a team hired at all, or was it just you
Hmm.
doing everything?
Yeah, yeah. I had a pretty large team. I had a team of program coaches and multiple people on the admin side of things as well. So we had a lot going on.
Oh,
And my
wow.
sister worked for me. She was like my COO, helping with all the operations stuff. Um, and it was fun. And also, it's a big expense having a big payroll.
Yeah, it totally is. And then did you have to let like everybody go, or did you just
Hmm.
downsize your team?
Um, a little bit of both. So that was also a gradual thing, kind of like as I changed offers and that kind of thing. It was like, well, this job doesn't exist anymore because this offer is going away. So that was part of it. And then at the beginning of this year, there was just two people left, an assistant and my sister. And my sister decided that she wanted to take a sabbatical from work in general and just kind of figure out what she wants the rest of her career and life to look like.
Yeah.
Um, so that was easy. Like, we didn't have to have like a bad conversation of like, hey, sister, you're out in a kind way.
Yeah.
But that was nice. That was something that she had already kind of been thinking about herself. And so I still do have a part-time assistant who helps with mostly social media and like scheduling emails and that kind of thing.
What a transition. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
most businesses are going the opposite direction. I know when I was starting my accounting business, I thought I needed like the team, the bookkeepers, and everything. And it just became very chaotic. And even now, I'm going like fully lean, got rid of everyone. It's just like you just want to do what feels good to you, but you're just told like you need to run your business this way. This is how you grow and scale. But it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, does it actually work for you?
Yeah. And I have some clients who really like that. Like
Yeah.
earlier today, I had a call with a client who She is a virtual assistant, an OBM, and she's built a team and has like an agency model and loves it and is thriving. And I love coaching her on it. And I love talking about like, how are we scaling this? How are we growing it? Like, I love it when it's the right fit for someone.
Yeah.
And I will also say, I think it's okay that we maybe want different things at different times. Like with my story, I don't feel like it is, I built something that I hated and then it
Mhm.
was totally wrong for me. I think it was more like different seasons of life, different things make sense. And I feel like I also kind of wanted to like scale down my workload and be able to have more going on outside of work. So
Mhm.
for me that was also a big part of it. Like I feel like the season of life I'm in, I wanted something that felt more low key.
Yeah.
Um so I don't think that like, a scaled business is wrong. I don't think that it's something where like nobody should ever do it, obviously. But yeah, I think it's not for everybody and it's not for everybody all the time.
Right. And I feel like you don't know until you try out different things and see
Yeah.
what works, what doesn't, or if you could do like a hybrid of both.
Yeah, totally agree.
What advice would you give someone that's like knows they should pivot, whether they're working like 9 to 5, they want to start their business, or maybe like you, they started this business and they're in a different season? How should they identify like how to structure the pivot or what kind of direction they should go?
So I think it's okay for it to be slow and for it to kind of evolve over time. Like I said, for me, it was several years. This process started early 2022. So it was a couple years of making changes, and it was not just like a overnight I'm pivoting.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage everybody to consider like you can just take one step at a time and move in the right direction. For me, I really felt like I could not make a drastic change because I was supporting my whole family with my business. My husband didn't work at the time, and it like we paid our bills with what I paid myself from the business. So it was
Yeah.
not like fun money. It was like, no, this is like our real life. So we can't just like throw it away, burn it down, and move on. I know for some people, they can. Like their business is something that they're doing for fun and it's more of like extra money for their family. And if that's the case, like make a quick change, but if you're basing your whole life on this, it's okay to make a slow change. And very similar to people who are working full time and the change that they want is to build a business. It's kind of the same thing. Like, please do not quit the job and go all in with the business. You actually can work your job and start up your business on the side and then decide when is the right time to make the shift. So I feel like that's my biggest advice is like you don't have to know exactly where you're going and you don't have to jump in right away. You can take the next right step until you get there.
So when you did pivot, did you have like cash flow, emergency savings, all that kind of stuff figured out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. So the nice thing is my scaled business, and even as I was building the business along the way, it was always very profitable. And it wasn't until I started making some of those pivots where it got rocky with the profit, but I had the cash flow, or the saved cash flow, the emergency fund on hand. So I was able to kind of smooth that transition and get through that, which was really nice.
That's super helpful because I know a lot
Yeah.
of times they quit the 9 to 5 and then they go all in. And it's like you're spending so much just to get your business up and running, and then you end up
Yeah.
in debt.
Yes. And I do really recommend that people know how long do you have financially? Like, how many months do you have if you didn't make anything at all? That's
Right.
something that I always talk to clients about, like when they're in a transitional phase or if they're just stressed about money or
Mhm.
about their revenue. It's like, okay, let's look and see how many months of expenses do you have if you literally made nothing. And for a lot of my clients, that is a really reassuring number. They look at it and they're like, okay, if I don't change any expenses, it's this number. If I cut back a little bit, it's this number. And then they're like, oh, okay. This is actually not as scary as it feels. And they usually are like, I think it would be kind of impossible for me to go that long and literally not make a dollar. So I think I'm going to be fine. And that is always, I think, empowering.
Yeah, I feel like just sitting down and actually looking at the numbers, because even going on vacation, like people panic. Like if I'm not working in the business, I'm not making
Hmm.
anything, and then they panic, and then their whole vacation, they're working.
Yeah. And I see it this time of year too. Like in summer, a lot of industries are a little slower,
Hmm.
and that causes a lot of business owners to kind of freak out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing of like, okay, what if you didn't bring in any new business for the next couple of months? What does that look like? Is that an emergency? If so, let's make a plan. But maybe it's not an emergency and it's just like, yeah, sometimes summer is a little quieter and that's okay.
Yeah, totally. Money shame is like really big. Did you have any like shame stories or like limiting beliefs come up as you were pivoting? Just like questioning, like, should you go with it when your business is doing so well financially the way it was?
I don't think so, weirdly. But I'm very much somebody where it's like once I see the truth or see what I have to do, I can't unsee it. Like I have to take action on it. So for me, that was just so big in my mind that all the other stuff, it was like, yeah, I would kind of be there, but it didn't really feel like a big deal.
Right.
Um, and I also think part of being where I was business wise and having built a seven figure business, everybody who had also built a business of that size totally got what I was doing
Mhm.
and understood it. And then anybody who would judge that hadn't created that. And so it was like, okay, well, I've done what you haven't done. So why would I care about your judgment? It just,
Yeah,
I felt like I was in a phase of like, I have nothing to prove. And that I found very freeing and very like, I get to decide what's right for me.
what type of clients do you work with right now, and what does their kind of client journey and transformation look like?
So it really depends. And that's something I love about one on one coaching and always kind of struggled with in groups because it was like, how do I decide which group it's going to be and what if I like working in all these different areas. So I have some clients who are literally at the very beginning, like they are launching their business, they're getting the first few clients. I have some people who have started and they're building to their first 100K. And then I have people who are in multiple six figure range and growing and like scaling and managing the team and all of that.
Yeah,
And I love all of those phases. So I think it's really fun that I get to do all of those things. And like every call I get on is talking about totally different things.
that's so interesting and cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
And how many clients do you work with like one-on-one now?
It kind of varies between like 15 to 20-ish. I meet with people 3 times a month. So the way that that shakes out in my calendar is what feels like a pretty relaxed schedule, like max 16 to 17 calls in a week, but that would be like a very busy week.
Yeah.
But normally like with people's schedules, it feels like it just spaces out in a really nice way. And like my average day is probably around like 4 client calls, which feels like compared to working corporate, I'm like, this
Yeah.
is very cushy. This is a nice setup.
Yeah, it feels more doable once you have like control over your schedule.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone that's like burnt out of scaling their business, but they want to just continue on that route?
I think I would look at like I would want to like dig in with them like what is it that is causing the burnout? What's the problem here? And why do they want to continue on this path? Like what do they like about it? What's the goal that they have and why is that important to them? And typically what I find is that people have goals that they don't necessarily really consider. Like when somebody new comes to work with me, they usually have like a really set number goal of like, I want this amount in revenue. And then when I start asking why, it kind of unravels and it's like, oh, it's not really about the revenue goal at all. It's about what they thought they were going to get with that. So, for instance, I had a client one time who was like, I want to make $1 million in revenue. And when I asked why, she was like, well, I really want to be able to pay myself like 150 to 200,000 a
Yeah.
year. And I was like, wow, you do not need $1 million business for that. And if you have like a low to mid six-figure business with pretty low overhead, you can have that. And it's way less stressful.
Yeah.
And her mind was blown. And so I think sometimes we're working towards something that is like a way more complicated version of getting what we want. Um, so I would imagine for people who are feeling burnt out, but wanting to continue on that path, it's something like that. And if we dig into it, then we can kind of figure out what are other ways of achieving that goal.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I feel like the social media, everything you consume online, it's like stripe screenshots, just numbers thrown here and there. And then you see those coaches, and you're like, they're making that money. Like, I want to work with them because I want to hit that number. But deep down, it's more of like your lifestyle, what you want. And once you have that $1 million, it's like, do you even know what you want to do with that money?
Mm-hmm. Well, something that I think is kind of fun when you create a profitable business and there is that cash flow is that maybe instead of scaling that business, you take that cash and you put it in other things. So,
Right.
something I am so glad I did in my business when I had a lot of that cash is we bought a second house in the mountains and it's a really cool cabin that is like in this cute rural area. And initially we bought it just like we like escaping to the mountains. This will be so fun.
Yeah.
And now we rent it out and it is like another stream of income for us that I didn't even expect.
Hmm.
And always wanted something like that, but I
Yeah.
was able to create that because of the coaching business. And I think sometimes when people think about wanting to make a certain amount of money, they don't think about the fact that they could make it a lot of different ways. And sometimes the initial business creates the cash to be able to create all of the other streams of income.
Totally. I feel like there's so many ways you can invest your money.
Yeah.
What's the biggest lie like you believed about money?
I don't know if I really believed any lies, but actually I'll take that back. I feel like especially in the coaching space, there is very much this idea of like charging what you're worth and the whatever your rates are that you charge meaning a lot about you and
Right.
like your confidence and the value of your work and all of this. And I feel like I look at that now and I'm just like, this is dumb. Like, this is not how other industries think about their rates and their pricing at all.
Yeah.
Like, this is like a detached from reality way to think about pricing. And I'm glad to be out of that mentality and to really think through like what makes sense for my clients, what makes sense for my business financially, what's a price that feels good to me. Like I love charging a price that feels easy-ish for people to say yes to. Like that to me just feels good. Like I don't like having like this huge um conversation about like all the money drama with a potential client.
Yeah.
Like I don't like having to be like, "Oh, you're getting this big transformation and making this investment." It's like, "No, we're going to have the transformation when we work together and we do the work and you create the results." And like, yeah, it feels good to make an investment in like taking your business seriously, but like it also doesn't have to be that deep.
Right.
Um
Yeah.
so I like that. Like I again it's to me like I have nothing to prove kind of thing where I've charged all kinds of prices and my prices are pretty low now compared to how they've been and it just like does not matter to me. It is not something where I'm like, "Oh, I don't believe in myself." It's like, "No, this is a
Yeah.
price that feels good to me and my people and that's great."
Yeah, totally. I feel like a lot of people just go like industry averages or what similar coaches are charging, and then it just becomes more of like a status kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just opting out of that at the moment, and it feels good.
What's one thing you're doing now that past you would have judged?
Probably the pricing. And I'm trying to think, like, what else would it be? I think part of it is also like I don't really set goals, like revenue goals for myself. Like I want to keep my business profitable, of course. I want to be able to pay myself a certain amount. I want to stay fully booked within like my range of people, but I don't have the like constant growth mentality about the business. I feel like there's so many ways to achieve growth outside of just like, is my revenue constantly growing, or am I constantly like putting myself in a fight or flight kind of mode in my business? I think that there's so many avenues for growth that I don't think that I looked at it that way before. And I think I had kind of felt like I'm always going to be on this path of growing and challenging myself with revenue and that kind of thing. And now it's like, no, my business can just like feel relaxed and I can just enjoy it.
That's such a good like advice for someone because I know when we look at those numbers, it becomes like a self-worth kind of issue. Or
Mm-hmm.
like you didn't hit your monthly target and it's just like you're so down on yourself and then you're questioning everything in the business and then people automatically just want to increase their prices out of like
Mm-hmm.
scarcity and just like rushed kind of decision making.
Mm-hmm. And I do like goals. Like I help my clients with goals. Like we use goals as a tool for growth if that is the thing that they're working on. But there is so much coaching we do around what is a goal for? Like, what is the purpose of the goal? And it is, to me, really just a tool to help us with planning and kind of like measuring like, okay, are we growing in that direction? Not something that's like related to their worth or the future of their business or what they're capable of or anything like that. It's like we have to pull all that drama away from goals and start to see it as like a really neutral tool that we're using for it to actually be useful. And I think that is really what it should be for.
Do you find when clients first start working with you, they come with that number mindset and then as they work through it with you, they realize like that number is just a number?
Totally. Yes. And I find that in the first month I'm working with somebody, when we set the first goal, they have a lot of thoughts around it. And I've noticed people tend to give a high number because they're feeling like, well, I hired a coach. I should be challenging myself. And like, I don't want Samantha to judge me for like aiming too low and that kind of thing. And then when we evaluate after the first month and look at it, almost always we will adjust the goal going into the next month, unless we had the conversation at the very beginning around like, let's chill about this goal a little bit.
Yeah.
But almost always we end up adjusting it by the second month because it's like, this isn't useful to you. Like, this goal is stressing you out and making you feel bad. And it needs to be a useful tool, not something that hurts you. Like, it has to be helpful and useful. So, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of deprogramming around goals that I do with people in that direction. And I feel like it is such a relief to them. Like when we finally have that moment where they're like, oh, I get it. They're
Yeah.
like, I feel so relieved. I feel like a huge weight is off my shoulders. And it's such a fun transformation.
That's so amazing to hear. I feel like a lot of business owners are in that like hustle kind of mindset and just so reactive with things that they're not really thinking that their business is more like long term. It's not like a sprint, it's actually a marathon. And people just burn
Yes.
themselves out in like the first year or two.
Yeah. I think that that is a really fun perspective that I have now that I didn't have before, having been in business for such a long time, that I see so many people who have come through, built really fast, burnt out really fast, and are not in business anymore. And I'm like, that if that is what you want, cool. But
Yeah.
that's not what most people want. most people want something that's going to last, and you have to approach it differently. Like you have to have more of that long-term mindset, and the things that you do to build for long-term are different than what you would do if you're just like, I want to make as much as I can as fast as I can and get out.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that all the time with business owners. When I work with them, like for taxes or the fractional CFO side, it's just like, I want to get to this number and that's it. But it's like, okay, let's look at like, what do you want in your bank account actually after you pay your expenses, setting up like emergency savings? I feel like those things aren't really glamorized in like the business world. Like,
Yeah.
no one wants to sit there and make budgets.
Yeah, but these are like the real life things. I feel like so many people are like not even thinking about like saving for retirement and that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, if this is like your real job, which that is the goal for a lot of people, then we need to be thinking about those things and saving for those things, or at least have a plan to get there. Like when you're in the startup phase, I totally get it. Like that's not where people are with like saving for retirement necessarily, but we want to get there. We want to move in that direction.
What advice would you give someone that is currently like tunnel vision and not really thinking about retirement or like the long-term vision of what their business is going to look like?
Yeah, I would have them think about that. Like, where are you going to be in 5 years? Where are you going to be in 10 years? When you are 70 years old, what does this look like? Like those kinds of reflections of like, ideally, you are alive in 5 and 10 years and when you're 70. So, what is that going to look like? What's the financial situation going to be? And I do think a lot of people have kind of like bought into this, like, it's going to be like an overnight success and I'm going to be
Right.
making millions. And sometimes, like, I love people to dream big, but also sometimes it's like, let's be realistic for a moment and think about, like, what's this really going to look like?
Mhm.
And I know for me, that was always something that I thought about, even at every stage along the way in my business. When I was scaling, now, like all the phases, I would think about what does this look like when I'm older? What does this look like when I'm at a retirement age? Like, what do I see myself doing with this? And how does it evolve? And some of it we can't know. Like some of it we won't know until we get there. But I like setting myself up to have options when that happens. Like I don't want to get into my like late 50s, 60s and be like, well, I can't retire because I never thought of that and never planned
Yeah.
for that. I do kind of anticipate that I'm going to be somebody who's going to want to work for as long as I'm able to work, even if it's just a little bit. But
Yeah.
I also want to have the option to not have to do that.
And not have to like trade your time for money.
Yeah, like if I want to do that, awesome. But I want it to be because I want to, not because I have to.
That totally makes sense. What advice would you give someone that's like jumping from coach to coach, but not really implementing anything? Or what type of questions should they be asking these type of coaches that they want to work with?
Yeah. Okay. So when somebody comes to me and they've worked with a couple of coaches or been in multiple programs or whatever, and they're like, well, this didn't work or whatever, I always ask why. And I feel that that is the most empowering thing that we can learn. And like maybe the answer is that they didn't implement, but then why? Like let's keep digging and let's figure out like why didn't it work? Why didn't you implement it? Why was this not a good fit for you? Like some coaches are literally just teaching you these are the steps that I did, do them. And like that's the coaching essentially is like here's what I did, you need to do it. And
Yeah.
like anytime you struggle, it's like, well, you just need a better mindset. And I just feel like that is not useful or helpful. So if somebody has worked with a coach like that or been in a program like that, it's like, okay, why wasn't that a good fit? Why didn't we like that strategy? Why didn't we want to implement it? What were the struggles? Why didn't it work if you did implement it and didn't see the result? So I think that's kind of the first step is figuring out what was that? Like why didn't that work? Why wasn't that a fit? So that you can then figure out what will be a fit, like what was the issue there that we can avoid going into the next investment that you are wanting to make. And then as far as questions to ask coaches, I really encourage people to do a lot of research about coaches before they even make contact with them. So like this shocks me because I'm very suspicious. I'm like, I'm going to research you and you're not going to see me coming until I know everything about you. So it surprises me when I will have clients who, signed up for some program or whatever and they have regrets about it. And we talk about how they got into it. And it was like, I saw an ad, I went to the webinar, and I purchased immediately, like on the webinar, or I got on a call and gave them my card on the call. I'm like, no, do not do this. Do not invest out of that kind of urgency. It is anything that's forcing you to make a super fast decision like that, to me, is a red flag.
Yeah.
Like any good investment is still going to be there after you've had time to chill out. Like even literally 15 minutes to like get up, go outside, look around at nature, come back in. Like, how are we feeling now? It doesn't have to be like some big long thing. It can be if you feel like you need that. But I think even like get out of the heat of the moment, talk to somebody that loves you, that knows you, see how they react to it. If you have like a lot of like shame and fear about telling like your partner or your best friend or whatever about this investment, that is a red flag. It's not necessarily bad, but like we want to be curious. So so I would say like it's okay to have a slow decision with those things, and if you're feeling pressured, do not give in. Question, be curious, um, and research. Like I think aside from like asking the coach any questions, like go and see what you can find out about them. And like, yeah, anybody who's been in business for a really long time is going to have negative reviews and positive reviews.
So
Like
true.
it's odd if they don't. And I think it's helpful to see all of it. It's helpful to see those things. I've recently had a couple of people ask me what happened essentially with clients that weren't a good fit, or like clients who didn't get quick results with you. Why was that? And like, who is not a good fit to work with you? Like, those kinds of
Oh, wow.
questions I think are
Those are such good
good.
questions.
Yeah, I loved it. And like a coach should know those things. Like a coach should know who is not a good fit for them. If they're just like, everybody's a good fit for me, everybody can work with me, I can help everybody,
Yeah.
that is not good self-awareness, you know? So I
Yeah.
think we want to be able to find out those things. And I think so much of that you can pick up actually just like listening to their podcast, looking at their Instagram, looking at their website, seeing reviews of them, looking on Reddit. Like there's going to be some haters on there probably
Yeah.
if they, are a bigger name person, but like what can you deduce from that? It's, there's always multiple sides to a story, and take it all with a grain of salt, but like I don't know. I love to, like, if I'm going to buy something, I love to look at the 1-star reviews. And sometimes the 1-star reviews sell me on the thing, because the thing that person didn't like about it, I'm like, oh, that's how I know I'm going to like it. So I just encourage people to like do your research on these kinds of things. And if you don't find very much, like that's also odd.
Now, let's say someone does do their research and then like the program's like 15K or something, but they don't have like a savings or anything and they want to jump on that investment. What advice would you give?
I just want to know why. I want to know why. And I always recommend that you really investigate within yourself. Why do I want to do this? What do I think it's going to get me that I don't already have? Why do I think that it's going to make the difference for me? Like, what is the missing piece? How do I think this is going to work? Like, I think we can be really logical and practical about it. Like, what is the result I want to create? How do I think this thing is going to get me there? And if there is any form of like, there's some magical information I'm going to learn in here that they know that I don't know,
Yeah.
that is a red flag. Like, really, there's not a lot of magic. It's pretty much like people need to know your business exists. You need to be able to communicate that well. Your potential clients need to know, like, and trust you.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you need to have like the business operations stuff in place, but like it's pretty simple. There's not like magic words, magic platforms. Like there is not this like secret that successful people have that you need to pay tens of thousands of dollars to learn. I would say like the best things that my clients get from me are accountability to stay consistent with the plan, accountability to not pivot when they really need to keep going with the plan longer to see the result, and brainstorming around like it's hard to see ourselves and our businesses and our marketing from inside our own head. And having somebody on the outside who can say, what about this? How's this going to land with your people? Like those types of things is helpful. Like those are the types of things that you want to get from a coach, and like being able to borrow belief. Like they're going to have belief and confidence in you, and that feels so good too. But it's like that kind of stuff. It's not magical answers that you don't know. And I think a lot of the time when people want to make these huge investments, it's because they feel like there's some magical answers they don't know that are going to change everything.
Yeah.
And that's just not a thing.
Yeah, I feel like just overcomplicating what you need to do instead of like just testing it out and seeing what works for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you know to be true about money today? Or what's
Mm.
changed?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know that this is really a change, but I think it's something that everybody needs to know. And this has been something that I feel like I always come back to is people pay you money for giving them value. And when they value the thing that you're giving them more than that amount of money, that is when you get paid. Like that is how it works. It's that simple. And to me, that is such a helpful reminder when I'm like, am I going to sign another client or whatever? You know, like all the drama that
Yeah.
we always have. Like when that happens, it's so helpful for me to be like, wait a minute, people are never going to stop wanting help with business. Like they want help with their marketing, they want help with their business, and they want to be able to grow their business, and I help them do that. So for me, it's like grounding back in here's the value, and I know people want it, and I know people need it, and I know people are always going to pay for it. And to me, that it feels very grounding. It feels very like reassuring that it's not like some magical thing of like who knows what. Like I say magic words and like money comes to me, or I believe the right thing and money comes to me. It's like a very practical, like this is about relationships and bringing value to people, and that's it. And it does not have to be more complicated or confusing than that.
What are your thoughts on like manifesting and like the wishful kind of thinking?
Yeah, I think it can be useful. So I think that I don't think it's like terrible, but I think its value is in how it makes us feel and show up. So, like when we are thinking a particular way, that really influences how we feel and how we show up in the world. So when we are feeling terrible, like no one wants to work with me and this is never going to work, it's going to be really hard to show up and market our business. When we do show up, what we put out there is going to be weird and
Yeah.
awkward and
It's
strange.
gonna be
And
forced.
like, yeah, and like if somebody's on a discovery call, we're going to be a weirdo about it. Like it's not going to be good. But if we're in a place of feeling confident in what we have to offer and knowing that it's valuable and knowing people want it and knowing that we help people, it's going to feel different. We're going to feel more confident, and people are going to feel that. And they're going to feel more comfortable buying from us because we are more chill about it and not in this like weird, desperate energy. So there's definitely that. And I also think that there is a little bit of like unexplainable magic-y something with it that I feel like I can't deny because there will be moments where I coach a client and they go from feeling really bad to feeling really lit up about something. And then they will message me and be like, I just got an application for a new client, or somebody just booked a discovery call. And like, they did not go post. They just were feeling good and something happened. And I'm like, okay, there's clearly something here
Yeah,
that we
it's like
don't
the energy just
understand.
shifted.
Right. Like it's not the only thing. Like you don't just like lay on your couch and like think good thoughts and somebody knocks on the door with like $10,000.
Yeah.
But it does matter.
What does wealth mean to you?
I think for me, wealth is all about freedom and choices and how I feel like to me that is what making money gets me is more choice and more freedom in how I want to live my life and what I want to do. It's like I'm able to say yes to more things that I want to say yes to. Um, so to me, I feel like that's how I think about wealth is being able to have options, kind of like I talked about with retirement, where it's like I feel like I'm not forced into something that I have to do. To
Yeah.
me, wealth is like wealth of options.
I guess it like any part of your life, not just like the money transactional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. And I think also just being able to enjoy like those options leading to being able to enjoy your life because we don't know how long we have here and we don't want to spend it, stuck on our computer in our office hustling away the whole time.
Yeah.
I think wealth is like, are you enjoying your life? Are you enjoying all of it?
Yeah, and I feel like not wasting it being so fixated on like a certain number of we need to hit this much revenue.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. Like
I
just the way that
know.
you described that, I was like, oh, that sounds really bad. I have been in those conversations before and I'm not interested in them now.
Yeah, I feel like once you start to see that, you notice like there's like a bigger picture. Like a
Mhm.
lot of us leave our 9 to 5 for the time freedom and what we want to do, but then we end up treating our business like that 9 to 5 and being
Yeah.
so fixed on that salary.
Yes. And so many people leave the 9 to 5 and then end up working more and feeling more stressed and feeling worse, but like telling themselves that it's better.
Yeah, I was guilty of that for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think let's actually make it better because it can be.
Yeah. What is the best way for our audience to connect with you?
Yeah, a couple ways. So they can go to my website and find all the things. I have a podcast, I have information about working with me there. I'm also active on Instagram and Threads. So they can chat with me in either of those spaces. DM me on Instagram. I check those, and I'm always happy to chat with people and answer questions and give opinions. I've got plenty of those. So I welcome anybody to reach out.
Thanks, Samantha. I'll share all her details in the show notes. Thanks for joining me on her wealthy mindset.
Thank you. This was fun.